My favorite feature on Desmos is the Desmos teacher activities, the teacher run activities. So you can see I have a few sessions going recently. I have one that was edited by me, and here's another one that I actually created myself. So I'm going to show you the discovering asymptotes of rational functions. So the great thing about these activities is that you can always click the Learn More button. So if you find a great one on this website on teacher.desmos.com, you can click Learn More, and then if you scroll down to the screens, you could preview what actually is going on, the content of the activity. So this is what the students actually see and can manipulate. So this first one, this first page asks students to identify their A, B, H, and K value from this function and write down in their notes, and then use the sliders to identify the asymptote. So we've previously talked about asymptote. My kids know that asymptotes can't touch or cross a graph. So they're going to move them until they're no longer touching or crossing the graph. And the big thing with my students are they can figure out where these asymptotes go, but they don't really know what to do next. So this Desmos activity leads kids to make a prediction. And the most powerful part is they can go back to the previous screen. They can click back and they can look at what do they notice about these asymptotes. So this vertical asymptote was 2. Well, where in that equation did it come from? Well, it looks like it's the h value. So maybe the vertical asymptote is affected by the h value. And they can make that prediction. And then the following screen has them test it. So use your prediction to help you find the asymptotes this time. It has them do that a few times so they can see if anything changes. So if it's a positive A or a negative A or a B value, what exactly is affecting it. And they revisit their predictions back and forth. And then they're asked to go a step further, create a rational equation that has these asymptotes that are shown. So they have to be able to not only identify the asymptotes, but know how the equation is affected by the asymptotes, whether it's an A value, a B value, an H, or a K value. And they do this a few times, and then they have to identify the asymptotes. They have to go back the other way. So they're constantly going back and forth to really cement this knowledge. And then finally, they are set to come up with a rule, a standard rule that a blank asymptote is determined by the blank. So the vertical asymptote or the horizontal asymptote is determined by the A, B, H, or K value. And they, at this point, because they've gone back and forth, they should feel very solid in their rule and know that it works every time. So what are the students actually seeing, and how did this work for students? So here's a session that I've done previously. And each time you start a new session, you get this class code. So this time it's 777Q. So students actually log on to student.desmos.com, which looks like this screen. So notice how it says, "Welcome back, Rebecca." So I'm signed in via Google, which is great because my students all have Google accounts, so they can all log in with Google. And you can see that it saves your recent activities. So if students don't finish, they can come right back in. So once they log in, they see 777Q. They see the screen that we looked at before. Okay, so I enter my name and I go. So I'm seeing exactly what I previewed before once it loads. And what the teacher is seeing is they're seeing everybody's progress. So here I can see William. He's all the way done. So I click on here, and I notice that first he thought B and A were affecting the vertical and horizontal asymptotes, but then he had to change his idea. He changed it to H and K. Now it says Will is completely done because the bar is all the way loaded, but if I look at it, he's done all this stuff, but then he hasn't finished these 2 screens. He hasn't actually determined the asymptotes for this, and he hasn't came up with this final rule. So I can see that Will has seen this screen, but he just chose not to complete it. So I can go ahead and prompt Will to go back and do that. Now Pramila, I can see that she's done everything, but she obviously didn't understand the directions. Right here, she was asked to create the equation, and instead she created the asymptotes. So I can quickly go to Pramila and I could let her know, hey, you actually have to create the rational equation. I could do this all in real time because this is all on my screen. I could see her progress. In Charlotte's, here's another example of a student not quite understanding. So here, she wasn't sure where things were because she was so zoomed out. Do you see this 100, negative 100? I can go in and I can look at it closer and I can see, ooh, she is very off. So I can go to her screen and later on tell her, hey, go back to the home. So this is just one of my favorite activities in Desmos. There are a million others, so thank you for letting me share this with you.